Welcome to Maroon Sports Talk, your go-to podcast for all things sports at EKU. Join us each week as we dive into the latest games and explore the world of sports. Whether you bleed maroon or just love college sports, this podcast is your ticket to staying informed. I'm Kaitlyn Andrews.
I'm Nicholas Speer.
I'm Joey Aguirre.
And I'm Caleb Wells.
Welcome, Caleb.
Welcome
to
Caleb! So exciting!
Thank you.
So exciting. So kind of starting off things here, baseball they got swept against Stetson this previous weekend. Kind of a lot of errors. I think they had 7 or 8 errors total for the 3-game series. Just kind of an overall lackluster performance after the 3-game winning streak. Stetson is really good though.
Yeah.
So the run total was 38-15 for the weekend. Pitching, once again, is a big struggle. These just high-scoring games, I feel like we produce so much on offense, but we just can't keep up with pitching. We'll score 3 runs and then give up 4 runs, or we'll hold them to an inning, but then we can't. Just bad luck. It's pitching. It's just all chaos.
It's been a lot of back and forth, I feel like.
Yeah. So, and then kind of moving on to softball here, it is kind of their first loss in a really long time against North Alabama, 1-0. Kind of a low-scoring affair. But they just keep on being dominant. Eastern Kentucky on their Instagram during lunch today posted actually hey, show up.
I love that. That's awesome.
They're like, if you didn't know, softball is killing it, so show up.
I mean, still 26-5. I know they just had that recent loss, but
it's pretty crazy.
It's crazy and it's fun to watch. So I think definitely trying to get people out and see that. So that's awesome.
And then kind of spring practices here picked up for football. Kind of been really quiet overall. Besides baseball and softball, all kind of quiet on the basketball front too. Honestly, probably just recruiting going on behind the scenes right now, trying to get transfers in. We had tons of turnover for both teams, so it's been pretty quiet over there. I think they're just trying to recruit.
But Antoinette Walker did declare for the
Really?
WNBA draft.
Okay.
I did just think of that just now. Yes, so she put out an Instagram post saying she's declaring for the WNBA draft.
Wow.
So that's really awesome.
Have to tune in with that.
I know. Has had a lot of success here at EKU, so that's really exciting.
Is she looking at any projections as far as getting drafted, or is she looking more like?
I haven't heard. She just put this out
Okay.
last week, I think. So,
Nice.
but it's super exciting to see EKU women's basketball getting their name out there and stuff.
Hopefully
so.
first round, second round, wherever she goes, I think she'll be great and rated. She has tons of postseason experience, not just the NIT previously. She's been in the big dance, so hopefully she's a first or second rounder, and then her name will get called, and they'll say Eastern Kentucky, and that'll
we'll
be
get some
huge.
more popularity.
That'll be huge. That'll be huge. I think
Yeah.
once the women's Final Four gets over, I think they'll start maybe doing the draft board together. They probably already do. I don't know if she's on it or not. She should be. She was our leading scorer, I'm pretty sure, so hopefully she'll get in there. Speaking of women's sports, kind of moving outside the EK Real Number, which is kind of out of our norm, talking about the Final Four happening for women's basketball. They had 12.3 million viewers, more viewers than the 23 NBA Finals, the World Series, the Orange Bowl, the Peach Bowl, which had schools like Penn State, Ole Miss.
That's crazy.
Just wild. Kind of talking about Caitlin Clark here. How do you think she kind of handles all this attention and Indiana fever tickets already being doubled at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis? So how do you think she kind of handles all that?
Well, I mean, I think it's really interesting to see because, women's basketball is becoming popular, because of her in a way. It's, never really been watched like this before. She's kind of carrying it on her shoulders a little bit. So it's really exciting to see, but also I'm sure it's a ton of pressure for someone like her, but she seems like she can handle that pressure and she's, ready to make a name for, women's basketball in general, too. Obviously, everyone knows who she is and everyone, she's getting, celebrity fame here. So it's really awesome to see, especially for a women's sport that maybe wasn't as respected in the past with women's basketball.
Yeah, and then when I talked to Coretta Brown a few weeks ago, she was even they didn't even live stream or show the WNBA draft, and that was just in 2023, which is
that's crazy.
Not long ago.
Yeah, now
So,
I feel like people would be outraged if they didn't get to see that.
Yeah, and kind of talking about on the other side of things, LSU with Angel Reese. I mean, as just kind of woman in sports, Caitlin, how do you think, and what is your kind of opinion and perception on just the unfair treatment that she garners from the media?
I think,
and people in general.
yeah, I think it sucks to see people pin two very successful, powerful, strong women against each other. Like, they obviously get along off the court. Like, you can see they have good sportsmanship. So, everyone wants to see a good feud, but to, bring hate to Angel Reese, bring hate to Kaitlyn Clark, like, don't love to see that. They're both very different players, very different people, but at the end of the day, they're both women's basketball players, and they both respect each other. So I feel like we as fans should also respect them. So I think it's hard to watch, but, hopefully people will kind of get over that. I think it also kind of shows how intense people are getting about the sport, which, you like to see that, but on the other hand, it's like, don't love to see the hate. There's so much love and hate in sports because it's so competitive. But I don't know. What do you think, Caleb?
Well, I think it also goes to show just like how competitive, like you were saying, just how competitive like this women's tournament has been. Because you look at the men's March Madness side, and you don't see anyone talking like about any two particular players that are pitted against each other. I mean, you look at the two best teams and their two best bigs, Zach Edey for the Purdue Boilermakers and Donovan Clingan for the UConn Huskies, but nobody's talking about like their rivalry. It's just like interesting to see. Like people are way more excited.
Yeah, like about the people.
The most passion is like DJ Burns and Zach Edey on the block together, but when it comes to Kaitlyn Clark and Angel Reese, it's like, oh, they're gonna fight midcourt. Right. But you see them hugging after the game. You see them hugging after the game, and like, Angel Reese tells her to go win it. And I think it's also just unfair to her because she gets so much hate, but when someone gets suspended from the NBA, it's like, oh, they need to go to therapy, they need some help, it's just passion. But with her, they like, it's unfair. It's like, oh, she's ghetto. It's just not fair to see, and the treatment that she gets. And I think she should be a top 10 pick in the WNBA, and she'll garner just as much attention as Kaitlyn Clark will. It's not fair. She said she'll play the villain role, but I don't think anyone that young and that age as a college athlete should have to take that on and play the quote-unquote villain. Shouldn't even be a villain title to it. It should be, she's the top 5 pick, either going to wherever she goes.
I love that you said the villain thing, because I was literally about to say that. But it's like, they are college age students. They are our age. Like, I'm a senior now in college. I'm like, they're my age or younger. Like, that's terrifying to think about. Or if they're a fifth year, it's different. But like, to be branded as the villain in Kaitlyn Clark's story when in reality there is not that much beef going on is just so, I don't know, so weird. Like,
it should have been the same storyline as DJ Burns and Zach Edey as two Titans classing. It shouldn't be, are they about to scrap after the game? Like, it's just not.
It's like they were fine, and it kind of ties back into, thinking women are going to be more emotional than they actually end up being. Like, it kind of just comes down to like some underlying things like that, I feel like, too.
Well, and you were even saying like these are like college athletes. Like, their whole job isn't just to play this sport. Exactly. Like, think about it. You're sitting.
You could have Angel Reese in your CMS 320 class.
I was going to say, like, imagine you're Angel Reese and you're just sitting in your class and you're like, you got to worry about your exam coming up, but you're too worried about being Kaitlyn Clark's like adversary. Like, it's just unfair that the media like pushes that narrative. I know.
And it's hard on your mental health too. It's so hard to be like, playing at that high of a level and, staying out of your head, and just, it takes a lot. And I just think that doesn't help at all. Like, to be branded as a villain, like, that can't be helpful with your mental health. Like, probably getting a lot of comments on Instagram and social media, like, I'm sure some horrible things are being said, so it makes it 10 times harder.
Speaking of like bad media, like, let's talk about Hailey Van Lith. Like, wow, like, it's been brutal.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you have, you play how many games, and all of a sudden you can't guard the best player, and now it's like.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I think that's another double standard too. Like, she's getting absolutely like torched on social media for not being able to guard Kaitlyn Clark. Like, are we torching anyone for not being able to guard Zach Edey? Are we torching anyone for not being able to guard?
That's a good point.
I mean, but the problem is too is like, you put her up against one of the best generation athletes of women's sports. That's also a lot to take on. I mean, she didn't do an awful job.
No.
I mean, I think it's a little unfair too. I mean, she came from Louisville, an hour and a half up the road,
right?
And then she goes to probably the most women's like media focused schools in the country. And those expectations can't be great. I mean, one of my buddies was like, "Oh yeah, I went to high school with her." Like, and these people are human beings. They're not. They're not just someone you can call like trash, ghetto, and just write a story about it. I mean, it's just unfair in my opinion for these athletes. And instead of them talking about her attitude, they should be talking about the viewership that it just gained. But then you see comments on social media, it's like, well, they didn't top the NFL. But like, come on, like just like
it's so tiring. It's so tiring to see.
It's brain rotting.
Oh my gosh, like it's horrible. I just feel like anytime there's like some minor success or major success in this form for like women's sports, it's like immediately people try to like downplay it and try to like change it. Oh well, it's not as good as this. It's not as good as that. So
it's like, how do you combat that stuff?
So
it's just
hard.
impossible.
So painful.
It has been nice to see like a lot of guys though admitting like on social media. Like I've seen a lot of people been like this has been more fun to watch.
Yeah.
Or like this has been more competitive and better.
The respect is coming. I feel
is
like
coming.
it is coming. It's slowly, but
and that, we shouldn't have to jump hoops to get to that though. But if that's something that they have, I mean, they just signed a huge deal like with a couple $1 billion to stream the games on ESPN for a really long time, and then kind of moving into the Final Four, it's Iowa, UConn, South Carolina, NC State, and I feel like not South Carolina's I think are undefeated, and NC State is in the Final Four, UConn, and last time UConn women's and men's was in the Final Four, the chip was won for them, so kind of see if that'll happen again. So
yeah, it's exciting for sure. I think that, you know, trying to get some more positive relationship with the fans and who's watching.
While we're on the topic, I do just have a fun question for you.
Of course.
Do you think, I've seen a lot of people say like as they're saying the NBA draft class for 2024 is like very lacking. I've seen a lot of people say that they think like Kaitlyn Clark could legitimately play in the NBA. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I do think she could. I think Iowa could beat the Detroit Pistons if they want it, or the Washington Wizards. They'll give it a run for the money. But I did see a funny thing where they put was it either the Iowa Hawkeye logo or her name, where she pat Pistol Pete's record. The men's team tried to go out there and shoot, and they all missed. And so I think it was pretty cool. No, I do think, though, that she'll bring a lot of attention to the WNBA that needs to be there.
Yeah, I agree. That's
and then probably Indiana, hopefully, so I can go watch. So it'll be close by. I do think, though, she could. I mean, she's just generational. I mean,
she's very good.
I think
she'll take Steph Curry out there.
Yeah, she's crazy.
I think the WNBA like started their trend with Sabrina Ionescu, and then her being a really generational talent as well. But then she did the 3-point contest against Steph Curry at NBA All-Star Weekend, and so I think it'd be fun to see Kaitlyn Clark get incorporated into that. Angel Reese get incorporated into that.
Yeah, they're definitely becoming faces for women's basketball, which is really cool. Like I see so many commercials with Kaitlyn Clark in them. I always think it's so funny because I'm like, she just wants to play sports.
NIL money. And kind of moving on a lesser topic here, like mean and a controversial. Joey, a couple esports updates you got for us, man?
Yeah. So EKU Esports. So our fighting team lost the first round of their bracket. Then our Rainbow Six team is on to the quarterfinals, which that'll be played next week. I believe it is Tuesday night when they'll be playing. The Rocket League white team is in quarterfinals, and then same with the Street Fighter 6 team. So 3 of our teams made it to quarterfinals.
Do you know who they'll be playing yet or anything like that? Or
they do have the brackets up. I forgot to actually write down who they are playing.
We're all college students.
Look it up.
I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling it up.
But
if you guys want to move on while I get this stuff.
Yeah, sure. We can do
kind of talking about, let's see here.
We do coaching.
Coaching. There's been a lot of controversy, too, with just coaches in general, like Calipari, Ken Mulkey. I don't know a whole lot about it. I just know that she was talking about how a Washington Post article got posted about her hating on some players, benching them for controversial reasons. That can be a whole episode in itself.
Yeah, probably.
Just letting Joey get these brackets pulled up here. And I think a lot of the times, too, kind of pulling back towards EKU, NIL is a big topic in today's day and age.
Yeah.
How do you propose mid-major schools kind of garner these NIL money and be able to retain players? I know that's been a problem for EKU in the past.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting topic, and I think it's a topic that not a lot of people like to talk about because it's very businessy and it's a little controversial.
It's
confusing. And, players just want to play. At the end of the day, they want to play. Majority of them just want to play. And I think, for like mid-level D1 schools like EKU, when you're competing with UK nearby and other big schools, it's hard to keep those players. And if NIL is kind of what they're after when they are transferring to those bigger schools, yeah, it's probably going to be hard to keep them at a school like here. Because if you choose to play Division II, Division III, NAIA, a small D1, like you're in it because you love your sport. Like at the end of the day, I think, when you get to the bigger schools, it gets more complicated, businessy, I want to make more money, whatever. But when you're in like a school like here or a smaller level school, you're there for your sport. So I feel like it can get a little complicated, but I don't know. I feel like if you're in it for the NIL money, like they're just going to go. Yeah, they're just going to go.
Yeah, and I was talking to my dad, too. One of the receivers for Kentucky is, like, either cousin or uncle or somebody related in his family is John Legend, and he's hosting a concert just for donors at UK.
I was not expecting you to say that.
Because he garnered that money for NIL.
That's
be able
crazy.
to retain him. And that, these bigger schools can just do stuff like that. And where EKU, you either host an event or you just have a page, like a link on your page to be able to donate.
I think they do actually have a link where you can donate, but
I've seen it before. Yeah.
I think they have it under like each sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. I think it's hard. Yeah, it's a complicated kind of topic.
And we've talked about it for several weeks now. We're still talking about it.
This is interesting.
We're still adding on to the conversation even 4 weeks later. So
you can talk about this all the time.
What you got?
Yeah, get on the esports.
Yes. So our Rainbow Six team will be playing Florida International University.
Oh.
Then our Rocket League White team, so our B team, is actually going up against George Fox University's varsity team.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be interesting to actually see, especially because they're our B team. And then our Street Fighter 6 is going against National University.
Very cool. Huh.
Are you guys looking at like traveling for that, or?
So they don't travel. So we've discussed it in previous episodes, but so that was an issue that was brought up in I think the first week was
like
where
money and travel and stuff like that.
Because our Rainbow Six team went to UK and they got second place in that tournament and are known as one of the better Rainbow Six teams in the state, and were invited to a tournament in Toronto but could not go because no funding.
That's such a shame.
I had the same reaction.
Yeah. That's funny. I actually used to play so much Rainbow Six, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's a fun game.
You should join the team.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't that good.
New member.
New member, Kayla Wells. Kind of moving on to the Esports World Cup, I see some stuff here on the Google Doc here. What do you got?
Yeah, so they have introduced 4 new games that will be added to the roster of games that I've stated. So
Exciting.
Tekken 8, League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics, and then Rensport. Rensport is actually a game that is still in beta and they're planning on having it as an actual competition at the...
So how does that work if it's in beta?
I think they're planning on having it launched prior to that.
Okay.
But it's still, like, when I was looking at their X account or Twitter, it said it was in beta, a closed beta too, so not even open for everyone. It's a closed beta that you can sign up for right now.
So how do you know if you're good at it?
You try to get into it while it's in closed beta and
That's
hope
crazy.
It's a racing game, though.
You hope for the
You have to
best.
have so much faith in yourself to do
Yeah.
that, I feel like.
Kind of moving into the topic and having faith in yourself. Joey, how do you get involved in esports? What is your kind of story, and how did you get into the sport, and how did you be able to bring it into your college life?
Yes, I love that.
So I started playing League of Legends back in going into my senior year. Junior senior year of high school is when I started playing it. And I'll be honest, I wasn't really looking at doing it competitively or anything like that. But when I got to EKU, I found out there was a team, and I figured, you know what, might as well, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I embarrass myself. Oh no, not the first time I would have done anything like that. But I figured to give it a shot, and I mean, like I said, it sucks we don't have a team this semester, but hopefully we'll have one next semester, and hopefully I'll be competing with it.
Did you just start playing video games like a really young age?
Yeah, I've been playing video games since as long as I can remember.
What was your first one?
So I didn't actually play this, but I know I've seen the photo of it. It's little me. I don't know how old I was, but I was in my dad's lap, and he had Tony Hawk. It was one of his games on the TV, so and I had the Xbox controller.
There you go.
Awesome. Wait, that's so cute. So, you have to send that picture to us.
I'll need to try and find it.
Okay.
I think my mom might have it, but
okay.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So like when it comes to esports, like how do you find out? Like how do you know that you're like, okay, I'm good enough. Like I can play like, professional. I can play for a college. Like how do you know?
So that's the thing. You just need to go out for it, I think. Like me, I'm one of the lower ranks in League of Legends. And our team entirely that first year was essentially all lower ranks. And when we went into second semester of my freshman year, we were competing against people who were in the highest rank. And
that's so cool.
We obviously lost in the first round, but oh man, it was an experience. Yeah. I loved it. So you don't know until you go out and you play with the team, because these games, almost all of them require teamwork. And as long as you guys can communicate and strategize, you have a chance at beating those better teams, even if you're lower ranks.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Heck yeah. Kaitlyn, kind of for you. How'd you get into soccer? Tell us your story about soccer.
Okay, I'll pivot. Oh gosh, that's so hard because I've been playing it for like a really long time. I feel like everyone starts soccer when they're like 4 or 5, and yeah, I started soccer around that age. I was not good at all. My parents thought I was going to play softball. And then I moved to Ohio, where I live now, from California. So I played on like a rec team in California, moved to Ohio, and I was like, I'm not playing soccer anymore. I'm bad at it. And,
California to Ohio.
Yeah, big move. And I was like, I'm bad at it. And this is kind of a funny story, but I was sleeping over at a friend's house, my first friend I'd made. And she played soccer and played for a really good club. I didn't know that at the time. And so I was going to sleep over at her house, watch her soccer game, and then like stay the night. And I went to the game, and they were like, hey, you used to play soccer, right? Like, we need another player, or we have to like forfeit the game. And I was like, I mean, sort of, yeah. Like, I don't think it was the level of the club, but they put a black shirt on me, just like didn't even say anything on it, and threw me out there. I have no idea what happened, but I blacked out. And then the coach came up to me, who was apparently like head of the club, and was like, come to tryouts. And so I went to tryouts and played for this club for like my entire childhood. Wow. Growing up. It was Cincinnati United Premier, but I don't know if it exists anymore. The clubs change all the time. But yeah, and then by the time I was 15, I committed to my previous college I was at before here. So
UC, yeah, wow, there goes
your
career.
Kind of just all over the place, but yeah, it was kind of weird how it worked out. I was like kind of random. Yeah, it did. So.
Kind of pivoting one more time before we wrap up here. Kind of like our funny topic of the week is movie theater experiences. All right, listen. I was at the movie theater. With my friends,
personal to you.
With my friends, and these kids just kept running around on their phones. They were on their phones. They actually went in the aisle and were like, I don't know what they were doing. Just being obnoxiously loud. And so, kind of wanted to, kind of the other podcasts I watched too, do topics like this. And last time they had a whole story and everything like that. But just annoying. Kind of, what are your what kind of annoys you the most in movie theaters?
So
okay,
go ahead.
No, go.
Okay, well, I was gonna say, I know for me, like, it sounds so mean, but it's old people. Old people are the most annoying in movie theaters because they either don't understand a thing that's going on, or they do and they want you to know that. Because I remember going to see Top Gun Maverick, and it was bad.
This also sounds personal.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely personal.
Oh my God.
This old couple was sitting in front of us, and they just thought they had to explain the whole movie. And I'm like,
to each other?
Yeah,
to
each other, but loud enough anyone could hear them. Because they were talking back and forth, and they were just referencing stuff from the old movie, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but we all don't need to know this. And then the other thing too was there's this scene where they go to the jet they were in had broke, and they go to get in this other jet, and they open it up and they see this old fighter pilot. Looks like you can't get into it, and this guy goes, well, he's gonna fly that plane, and I'm like, of course, Sherlock. I don't know.
The movie I was at with my friends, they actually got kicked out. And I did 3 different times. They let him back in, kicked him out, let him back in, they kicked him out, and that was it. And so it was just so annoying. And I was like, I love movies, but man, this is really annoying right now. Like, this sucks.
Yeah, I feel like I've been in the groups of people that are annoying though.
Kaitlyn's the problem.
No, like,
Kaitlyn's gonna be the old lady that talks.
Yeah, I am. I'm very reactive when I watch movies. Like, I have big reactions to things. I don't think I disrupt people around me, but like if I'm with my friends, I'm like grabbing them. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gasping.
Get in it.
Like, stuff. Yeah, like.
But you're not gonna like explain it, right?
No,
Okay.
I try not to. I don't know. We'd have to ask my friends, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think.
We'll get to the bottom of this.
Yes, we will. We'll bring my friend on. But yeah, and then just like whenever you're with a big group, I feel like it's hard to not be annoying
That's fair.
too.
Yeah,
That's
that is
fair.
fair. That is
That's
fair.
I don't know. What about you, Joey?
Well, there was one time when my brother, my friends, and I forgot what movie we were seeing, but there was this group of like teenagers, so like years younger than me at that point.
Teenagers scare me now. I like was one not that long ago.
Because
They
it was
scare
like
me.
maybe like 6, 7 years younger than me, and I'm like, man, to think but they were just talking. It was a horror movie, and like they were just talking and like not screaming in a way. So like they weren't actually scared, but like they were screaming like they
like
were
kind of like obnoxious.
Yeah.
Kind of being like, oh, this is annoying.
And it got to the point where you could hear other people in the theater talking about someone needs to go get someone to kick these kids out.
No,
like,
yeah.
And so I watched this dude just get up from like 3 rows behind us and just walk down, leaves, and then gets an attendant to come in and kick them out.
Oh my god.
But I have another story that my friend told me. So she was at a theater with her husband, and what happened was these 2 people just started fighting, like just started brawling.
In the middle of the movie?
I think
During
it was
previews.
I think it was even
okay.
before the previews started.
How do you already have beef before the previews even
But
start?
like, they started fighting, and they all got free tickets. Like everyone in the theater got free tickets.
Okay, so
Yeah.
here,
To
I
go
have
see.
an
Let's
idea.
go fight each other.
Stage a fight. Me and Joey
Yeah.
will get the free tickets.
Yeah.
We'll be like, we need 4 actually. And then
This
you guys
is
go.
kind of off topic, but related. Have you ever got caught sitting in other people's seats?
I hate that. Oh my
I
gosh,
got
that's
caught
like my
doing that.
word. I hate that.
I was it was at a concert. It was just happened this past weekend. It was during Fall Out Boy's Jimmy Eat World, and Jimmy Eat World was just going crazy. They were putting on a heck of a show, and this like dude comes up behind us screaming. I could smell his breath. It was disgusting. Like,
Ew.
and he was like, "You're in our seats," like screaming at us. And my friend was like, "No, dude." He was like, "This is section 232, right?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he pulls up and she saw on the flashlight to show him 232, so we thought we were in his seats. And then she was like, "Check your tickets." And he was like, "Oh, I'm in 231."
That's
and just
horrible.
walks away, and he stands there for like 5 minutes just going, like, and I'm like, "Dude, what are you doing?" He eventually goes and sits down, and it was like the complete other section.
People are so weird.
Yeah.
When Spider-Man No Way Home came out, we went to go see it opening night, and like when we got there, the only seats available were the ones like right in front
That's horrible.
of
Those are awful.
the screen, so you have to like look up at it like that.
And they all look distorted and like
Yes,
weird.
yes. And so we get there and we sit down and we're like, okay, like this kind of sucks. Like 30 minutes into the movie, there's no one like in this one row behind us. Like this entire row is gone, and we're like, we're just gonna go sit there. So we go and sit in this row. And then it starts to fill up, and we're like, well, like at least no one's come to like our seats. Like we're good. And then at this point, the row is full, and we're sitting in the 3 seats, and we're like, we're good. Like we're good.
We have this down.
This is stressing me out.
How far into the movie were you?
This is probably like an hour and 20 minutes into the movie now.
At
And
that
then-
point, I'm like,
and
"No, dude, I'm sitting here."
That's
Yeah.
like we think we're good. At this point, we're putting our feet up, we're leaning back. Like we think we're good.
Yeah, no
And
one
then
would show up at like that far into
someone
the movie.
showed
Oh my
up.
gosh.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Especially that movie.
We're a little late.
They showed up and they were like, hey, like I think you're in our seats, and we're like, yeah.
Too late.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for anyone. If you pause it if you haven't seen it, but like it's like probably when Andrew Garfield and all of them like show up.
It was
and
like-
I haven't seen
the
it by now.
The
That's-
cliffhanger. You never know nowadays, especially with the hour and a half people late showing up. You never know nowadays.
That's true. They probably. I think like. It was like right before that scene happened. So like we sat back down and then got to see like a
No,
distorted
they got
Tobey
to see the
Maguire.
best
Oh.
part.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like, wait, who is that?
Well, it's funny because like they had like there was like a cameo or something, and I completely missed it because it was like all the way on that side of the screen. Because like when you're that close, you have to like
breaking your neck.
yeah, like look over. So yeah.
Horrible. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. No, I can't do that.
That was
It's
rough.
No.
I promise we're a sports podcast. I promise. I promise.
We get so passionate about the fun topic, though.
The movie. The movie business is
I
crazy.
know.
That could be a whole separate podcast on its own.
Okay.
So, I think that kind of wraps it up for this week, and we should be back by next week talking about more, hopefully baseball and softball, and then funny topics and all that. So we appreciate you guys listening for this, and we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.